What's going on, you good humans? Welcome to guest episode 209 of Good Humans podcast with a very special lady by the name of Alana Fairchild. Alana is a renowned spiritual teacher from Sydney's Northern Beaches, and she is an incredible, incredible human. She has sold over 1 million of her Oracle decks. Her Spotify has 30,000 monthly listeners to her incredible music, but also the meditations that she's put out. Her story is quite profound. It was really nice to go deep and hear the sort of role that she's been on in life, all these opportunities that she's continued to follow her intuition and just let the universe guide her. And now she's one of the most incredible teachers in this space of spirituality. We went deep in this conversation through her story, but we also went into her Oracle decks, the Earth Warrior cards, and it was really cool. She drew a couple cards for me and also for you guys watching at home. So make sure you tune in till the end of the episode and you're going to see those cards that were drawn for you. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment, let us know what you think of the episode. And if you're listening on the traditional podcast apps, either Apple or Spotify, if you give us a 5-star rating, leave us a little review and give us a follow or a subscribe, it would mean the absolute world to me. You guys are going to love this episode. I loved catching up with Alana and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the episode too. Let's jump into it. Welcome to Good Humans podcast, Alana Fairchild. How you going, Alana?
I'm good, Cooper. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. It's really nice to be here. We're down in Sydney at my family home in North Narrabeen. I spent 25 years here and it's so beautiful that my parents still have this place. Mum and dad still live here. So to get to welcome you to my family home, I'm sure as a spiritual person, you can probably feel the energy of the Chapmans that has grown up. And
yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, and the view is pretty spectacular.
I know. I'll have to show you the balconies upstairs a little bit later. But first question I ask everyone is the same, and that is, what are you grateful for right now today in life?
Always grateful for my path. It's the sense of compass and alignment, no matter how much craziness is going on in the world or in my own life. I always have this sense of purpose that keeps guiding me. I'm very grateful for that. It feels like something that's rare.
I love that. I feel that myself sometimes. I call it like an underlying faith that just like, you know, it's all going to work out. And yeah, I love that.
It's beautiful.
What I'm going to start with this episode is a little bit different because I feel very drawn to you and people are probably like, what the hell? Actually, maybe we'll tell... people are like, oh, what's going on? Before I go into that, I want you to explain, I guess, to people real quickly who you are and what you do. And then I'm going to talk about this weird story, how we got connected to do this episode.
I never know exactly how to describe my job. It's kind of multifaceted, but I'm a channel, a spiritual teacher, a healer. I've been writing for 20 plus years and I have about 70 titles published, books, oracle decks, meditation and music albums. I channel healing modalities. I've got 2. What else do I do? Retreats, live performances, but it's all from the same thing. They're just like different parts of the one tree. I think of it like that. So I'm kind of a healer. That's kind of what I described today. It might be different tomorrow, but that's the gist of it.
I think it's beautiful. There's so many obviously facets to what you do, but it's all trying to, I guess, raise the consciousness of people and help them heal and, you know, make the world a better place, which is so great to be sitting in your presence. And also, like, I listened to some of your music recently, like, so cool. You have over 30,000 monthly listeners on Spotify across all of your tracks and your meditations. Like, that's big time, helping so many people, you know, without even realizing it, with the music, with the Oracle decks. And that's what I want to quickly touch on, your Oracle decks, because your Oracle decks are globally famous. Do you know, as an estimate number, how many copies of your decks you might have sold?
Oh, my publisher told me the other day, and I forgot. I think it was 1.2 million or something.
1.2 million decks of Oracle cards. Congratulations!
Thank you.
It's so beautiful to see how many people are touched by your work, and I want to explain how I was touched by your work before we got to connect. So I did a retreat that everyone who listens to this podcast would know in breathwork recently. And at the retreat, my roommate was this guy and he had a deck of Oracle cards where he's like, yeah, I draw a card every night just to sort of give me a bit of guidance for the next day. And he pulled out this beautiful deck of Earth Warrior Oracle cards. And he opened them and showed me all this incredible artwork. For me, when it comes to Oracle cards, it's usually the artwork that draws you into it.
For sure.
And I was like, these are beautiful cards. And I just was fascinated by them. So I drew a card each day and everyone at the retreat did. And we all just fell in love with these Earth Warrior Oracle cards. And my partner, Carol, is really big on Oracle and spirituality. And the world, I guess, of woo. I'm not going to call it woo.
You can call it whatever you like. We're all good.
The world of woo. Let's call it that, just for the sake of my partner's very open-minded, very spiritual. And I was like, I'm going to buy her a deck for sure. So I bought a set of the Earth Warrior Oracle cards on Amazon or whatever, and they were on their way in the mail. And then I got a notification saying your Earth Warrior cards are coming tomorrow. Would have been about 30 minutes after I got an email from your PR agency saying, hey, we wanted to pitch a guest to you. And I get pitched probably 3 or 4 times a week from PR to have guests on the podcast. So it's not rare. Because I only do one a week, I have to say no to like 70-80% of people. And I quickly just looked at the email, and I to be honest, when I saw the Earth Warrior, I didn't really look at the author's name and realised your name. And then I scrolled through her email, and these cards popped up, and I was like, no way, they're coming in the mail tomorrow. Like, what are the chances of like me have literally purchased one of your pieces of work that was getting delivered the next day, and then for your team to reach out just by chance around that time to get to interview you for my podcast? And I was like, let's do it. This, for me, I'm like quite, spiritual, the universe guides the way. And when I saw that, I was like, I've got to do this episode. This is going to be amazing. And we liaised, and here we are. And one more thing about that, I was just telling you this as well off air. I was looking in the back at some old podcast episodes, and one of my guests from America, who is a breathwork facilitator, I was looking at the video of our episode, and in the background behind his head is that Earth Warrior Oracle cards as well. So there we are. Here we are, sitting in the person, getting to finally chat.
Oh, so much synchronicity. I always pay attention to that.
Yeah, I always listen to that stuff. So what we're going to do today is go through your journey. And I think your journey is a really nice one when it comes to spirituality in this world, because I've listened to some of your other podcasts and I understand a little bit of your story. And I know you went and studied law at university. You wouldn't, from the outside looking in, probably wouldn't expect, a big spiritual healer and guidance person to be like a law educated person. Like, I think you really flipped the script on it. Like, spirituality isn't this one thing that we see like this hippie at the markets. It's like spirituality is everything. So I'm really excited to get to know your journey. So we'll go through your story and what we're going to do to finish. So make sure you stick around, everyone listening. I have a set of Earth Warrior Oracle cards in front of me. So Alana's going to draw a card. I'm going to draw a card for me, and Alana's going to do a reading for me. And we're going to do a very special reading for the Good Human Factory audience. For anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you've been drawn to listen to this episode, we're going to draw a card for everyone who listens. So it's going to take us ages. No, we're just going to do one.
There'll be 75 cards.
No, the thousands of cards. We're going to do one card for everyone listening. So let's rewind back to the start. Sorry, I just spoke way too much. It's all going to be you now. But let's rewind back to the start. Tell me a bit about your upbringing, what life was like as a kid. Let's talk up until high school. What I need to know about early days, Alana.
Well, I was here, but also a little bit in another world when I was a kid. I used to kind of lay on my back in the garden and look at the sky and talk to God. I was raised in a very, very lax Catholic family, so we're pretty relaxed about things like psychic readings and spirits and ghosts and all that kind of stuff. It was just in the vibe. Mm-hmm. And I was also schooled in a place where there was a lot of mixed faiths and religions. It was very multicultural. So from an early age, I had a sense of familiarity with different religions in a way that was probably kind of unusual, but for me felt really normal. Mm-hmm. So that was hugely significant to me. Mm-hmm. And my house was sort of chaotic and emotional, and my parents were going through a divorce when I was quite young, on and off for many years, and I'm very introverted, and I think that combined with my kind of tendency towards spirituality anyway, I just went really in. So my inner life became very strong as a way probably to cope with what was going on around me, but also just my own inclination. So for anything to do with imagination, or now as an older person, writing or art or creativity, it just feels quite natural, anything that comes from within. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? Oh my goodness, I spent time in different friends' homes that had, like, they were Buddhist or they were Hindu or Baha'i faith or Greek Orthodox, and just was drawn into their worlds, their music, their food, their religious imagery. And I just had this sense of life and people being really interesting, and I've never lost that. I'm actually intrigued by difference. Some people find it threatening. I just become curious about it.
Me too.
Yeah, so that's been a real gift. And I went through school and kind of sometimes found it really stressful. it was a lot of stimulation to take in, you know, and a lot of conditioning. And I'm a bit of a free spirit. I don't do well under authority, Cooper, I'm not going to lie. I've never lost that. But I managed. I made a lot of friends and then eventually moved into high school. And that was one of the more difficult transitions for me. My mum was working a lot. I felt really thrown back on myself and my journey. And sort of about halfway through high school, I started to get anxiety, and then that just continued. Eventually depression. I went to law school, not because I had a passion for law when I graduated from high school, obviously, but...
Can we pause there just for 1 sec? I just want to prod from there.
Yeah.
When you were coming towards the end of high school, where did you think life was going to go? Because obviously you went and studied law. Did you have any sort of inklings? Did you have any teachers that were sort of supportive of your spiritual and artistic side? Or was it like, you know what, I'm going to go down the academic and go to university route?
It was a disaster. It really was.
Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah, for sure. I remember I was about 16 and we had careers counsellors, and they'd have all the posters on the wall. If you like English, you do this, or if you like maths, you do that. And I remember looking at all of them and thinking, I can't see anything on here that I want to do. And my mum, bless her, she sent me off to all these careers advisors and did all these tests. I've lost count of how many I did. And I couldn't find anything on there at all that I liked and that felt like me. And I think that was part of the depression. I really had this sense of bleakness. I didn't know what I was going to do. And then for good or bad, whatever, I came out of my HSC and I had a TER of 99.35, so I was right at the top, and I could do anything. And the hardest thing to get into at that time from memory was law at the University of New South Wales. And so I just thought, well, I'll just do that because I can't do science because I can't cut open frogs. So that's how that decision was made.
Kind of like, I better use the academic gift. Well, I'm sure it was hard work as well, but to get 99, it comes with some brains in there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I made plenty of stupid decisions in my life, so I don't I don't get ego about it. But yeah, there was some family pressure to do it. I actually wanted to go to NIDA. I wanted to do arts and... but I think there was a lot of pressure around, would you make a living doing that? And I was young enough that I didn't have a full sense of what was possible in my life or for myself. So I went along with, that guidance, and I kind of knew that it wasn't right for me, but in the absence of an alternative, I didn't really know what else to do. So I persisted on that path for a while.
So so you study law, Sydney University, or University of New South Wales.
Yeah.
You finish your law degree.
Yes.
Where does life go once you finish your law degree?
So then you get to choose. Do you go to College of Law and become a solicitor?
Yeah.
Or do you look at becoming a barrister? I was doing a clerkship at a firm called Mallison's, a big corporate law firm. And people used to say to me, people would sell their grandmother for that clerkship because it guarantees you a job. And they did offer me a job. And I just couldn't. So I finished my degree, but I decided not to practice. And I had 2 job offers, and everyone was saying your future's set. And, and I just thought, I don't like that future. It feels like it's going to consume me. And I just felt that depression.
How old were you here?
18, 19.
Finished your law degree that quick?
Oh, forgive me. No, that was high school. How old would I have been?
Must have been 21.
23, maybe. It was 5.5 years.
Yeah,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a hard time in life, but geez, it takes some balls. Probably isn't the word, but to spend that much time educating yourself, the money that comes with doing a degree, but then also having to say no to practicing and to the future, I guess, money that can come, the career that can come from that, to say no. How hard was that decision to make, and what did that decision lead you to doing in that rest of your 20s?
I was okay with leaving it behind me. I think one of my animal spirit totems is the lizard. You know how they just drop their tails when they need to? I'd just drop something if I need to and move on. Yeah. So I was all right with that. But I remember I had this weird experience. I was in a super centre at Kensington wanting to buy a lounge. It was very random. I was moving into my first place and I wanted to buy a sofa, and I was standing there and it was expensive, and I didn't have a lot of money because I was just doing whatever part-time jobs from quitting law. I didn't want to practice. And I just said a prayer in the middle of this shopping centre to the universe, and I said, I want to do what's true for me on my path, and I want you to guide me. All I'm asking for you is that I have enough money to do what I need to do. That was my prayer. And so I never thought about it again. I never thought about what I'd earn as a lawyer. People often ask me, do you ever regret it? I never thought about it twice. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just I just went, I'm not doing that, and that was it. And then from there, I was harassed by a lovely friend of mine over and over again to go and see this psychic and get a reading. And eventually I gave in because she was just so persistent.
And were you quite spiritual already before
Yeah.
this point? And were like, had you found meditation and
No meditation.
no meditation at this stage?
But always in this sense of conversation with whatever you want to call it, God, the universe. Yeah, I've always kind of felt that as a presence. Yeah, since I was a kid.
And that led you to a friend saying, go see this psychic.
Yeah, so I went and she just said to me, you should be doing what I'm doing. And then this voice came out of my mouth. I said something, I didn't know what the voice was, and it just said, yes, I know. And I remember as I was saying it, thinking, what part of me is speaking right now? I don't understand what this is. And it was just this part that I've learned to lean into and trust. I guess you'd call it your inner voice. But so I studied with her for about 2 years, learnt meditation, psychic techniques. I took to it like a duck to water.
Yeah.
Started doing tarot readings and it just grew. It's been 25 years now and it just keeps evolving.
Yeah, wow. Talk to me about those early days. What does it look like training to become a psychic? Because I feel like the connotation that comes with it is like people are just born with these powers that they can tune into stuff. But yeah, what does it look like to train to become a psychic to, I guess, talk me through it.
I think it's a lot like the analogy of a pro athlete. Like everyone would have some degree of athletic ability. Some people are going to be more inclined than others. Everyone could work and develop on what they have. And then you have some people that just kind of naturally with it. So for me, it was just mostly learning how to start to undo some of the thought patterns that I had learned in law school, which is to categorize everything, break it down, analyze it. It was kind of undoing some of that and learning. One of the hardest things that I think for any of us is to be in a place of like emptiness and openness and uncertainty and allow the information or what you're seeking to come to you, whether it's a message or just the next phase in your life or whatever it is. So, that was important.
Wow. Yeah, it's like if we're not if we don't have a little bit of blankness on our page, there's nowhere to write anything new.
Exactly.
So we have to unlearn quite often before we can, add to a new way of thinking.
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the main things, specifically when it comes to mental health. Obviously, that's a big world that I'm in, is realizing like one of my favorite things that I learnt, which has really helped me on my journey. I don't know if you've heard of Dr. Nicole LaPera from the Holistic Psychologist over in LA.
Yeah.
Anyway, she has a really cool book called, I'm going to butcher the name. Anyway, there's one concept in the book that I just love where I think pretty early days meditation and spirituality, you start to realize I'm not the voice inside my head. It's like I am not my thoughts.
Yeah.
But she writes about this fact that you are not your self-beliefs either. They've started somewhere so they can also be rewritten. And when I started to think like that, I was like, it's so true. If there's any like self-belief you have about yourself or any self-limiting belief, obviously specifically, that can be rewritten. It came from somewhere. It can also not disappear, but it can be rewritten. And once I've started to think like that, that's made me kind of, it's not getting like a new piece of paper. It's like getting an eraser. It's like, you can erase the stuff on the paper you don't want and keep adding to, what is who we are.
I love that you said that. It's been my experience that a lot of the spiritual path is about deconstruction. It's about breaking things down and belief systems, paradigms, doctrines, things that we've kind of conditioned ourselves with, and not for any reason other than sort of liberating and allowing the real self and our innate freedom to emerge. So we can choose. We can choose how we want to live our lives. It doesn't have to be set by society or whatever. Yeah. And that's a huge part of it.
And there's just so much noise, metaphorically and actual noise out there.
Yeah.
And nowadays that it's very hard, and I feel like sometimes we just need to listen, and it's like we don't give ourselves the space to listen, like the intelligence there to pull from, but we don't give our space. That's why I think so many holistic modalities are so powerful, and then all the things that are, rooted in traditional, different cultures. Like there's so much ancient wisdom that is now being quite relearned, which is really nice to see. Obviously, the way that the world's moved in the last 20 years, 30 years with technology advancements, there's been plenty of negative things, but the fact that we can sort of connect with every culture, we can translate scripts into our native language a lot easier and really connect on a global level. I think that's been a big positive, is reliving or the rebirth, I guess, of some ancient modalities to be a bit more mainstream. I'm big on the holistic side of stuff. So how does your career start in this space? Because I think that's probably something somebody's listening to going, wait, had studied all this stuff and you could be a lawyer, and then you went and did 2 years to learn how to become a psychic and meditation teacher. What talk me through the rest of your 20s.
Well, it didn't just start out of nowhere. I mean, this is something that I was passionate about for a long time. I think I have this memory of, it was towards the end of law school and I was doing an exam in litigation. It was like mock trial. And I did my cross-examination and I was savage. I was actually very good at it, but I'm not proud when I look back, but I was pretty brutal. And then after I finished and everyone else was still doing their thing, I don't know what possessed me, but I took this book out from under the table and it was kind of hidden in my law notes. And it was a book on chakras and aromatherapy and I was totally into it. So I'm reading. And my the lawyer, the barrister that was actually conducting the mock trial, knew what I was doing, and afterwards he just tore me to shreds. He was like, "This is so disrespectful, and how can you do this?" And I thought, he's right. And I thought, what the hell am I doing in this law degree? This is not. So I already had the seeds of what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
And then people think it's some thing that you do and you step from one thing to the other and it's like a stepping stone. It was a mess.
You put the seed underground and then you got to water it. You got to have sun.
The roots go everywhere,
and now you have this beautiful tree. But people forget that it started with a seed in,
Yeah, and you
upbringing that had to be watered. And if you didn't water it and didn't care for it and grow it, it would still just be a seed in the ground, which I'm sure everyone listening has some seed that they never even planted, let alone watered. So it's so beautiful that you did, water this world of spirituality and followed this path because, you've brought such a gift to so many people. So, talk me through, sprouting your seed from the ground.
So then I just followed. I still do this. This is how I live my life. I just follow the thing that feels like it's resonating the most next. And I stay in the space I'm in for however long. And I've learned to feel the movements of my own soul, my own spirit. I often use the surfing metaphor, for people sitting on a board in the water, waiting to feel when the currents of the wave is coming and it kind of lifts and moves, and then you know when to paddle or when to wait. It feels like that to me. So what that looked like was I came out of law school, I went to these classes, I decided to get a part-time job instead of taking the legal jobs because that would take over my life and I wanted space. And then I just pursued my passion. I developed my skill in tarot reading. I did readings for quite a long time, actually. And then after a few years, I had enough clients that would come to me regularly. I thought, I think I should teach a class. I didn't really know on what. I just knew I was going to teach a class. And I started by applying to Sydney Community College and just saying, can I come and teach a class on spiritual growth? And they said, yeah, which was bizarre because I had nothing like that. But I went, it was sold out and it was just great.
Wow.
And I just kind of went on from there. I just kept writing new classes and I did it more privately in my own space. And then I was doing groups regularly and then I started writing and then I sought a publisher. And that's a whole other journey. But
we're going to get there.
Yeah.
I want to talk about tarot and psychic reading and that world that you're obviously in for a while and still are. Can you explain to the listeners what tarot is and what psychic reading is? Because the way that I'm sure a percentage of people listening, and this is the way that I viewed it up until, I'd say probably the last 10 years I've been quite spiritual, but up until then I would see a psychic reader as, what's the word? I can't think of it. At a fair or something, and they're sitting in this tent, and you kind of feel awkward and I don't want to get a bad reading from them.
Oh yeah, of course.
That was kind of
yeah.
There's almost like a witch in there doing something. So
she might have been,
yeah, she might have been. So that was how I used to view tarot and psychic readings, let's say. Now, and I know oracle's a bit different, but do you want to explain to people what tarot reading is?
Yeah.
What it's used for, and what that part of your life was like doing a lot more psychic. Do you feel still as connected to that space if you're not doing one-on-ones and as much, or is that something that while you're doing it, working with people, it is more there?
That's such an interesting question. It is a bit like a muscle that the more you use it, you do get in the flow. Like with singing, if I'm singing daily, it's more just there.
Yeah.
But it's always kind of lurking. It's lurking.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
It's I can still go surfing. I'm not quite right there. A bit of practice and I'll get pretty close back to there. But
exactly.
Yeah.
So tarot, it started as playing cards in Italy, I think. So originally it was a game.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how exactly it transitioned into divination, but essentially it's a predictive tool. It's quite specific. There's a lot of different takes on how it works, and everyone's got their own kind of vibe, but there's like months and weeks and seasons, and you can predict when things are going to happen. And Three of Swords, you're probably not going to be very happy, but Six of Cups, you might be happier. And it's just got this kind of very grounded, quite specific methodology to it. Generally speaking, it's for prediction, but if you're a really diehard fan, which I am, it's also kind of a psychological tool that you can use for insight. But for psychic readings, there are as many different ways to read energy as there are people in the world. Like, I mean, I think it was in ancient Rome, they used to read cloud formations as oracles. Like, you can read coffee cups, they do that in Turkey. You can read energy. I use cards a little bit. Often I just prefer to sit with someone and see what comes to me. Everyone's kind of different. Yeah.
So I can explain to everyone who's listening. It's like, tarot cards? What do you mean? So it's like a deck of cards that has a book that matches up to it, and you shuffle it and you pick your 1, 2 or 3 cards depending on what you want to do. Like, I know 3 is sometimes past, present and future, and then because obviously you're picking it at random based on your shuffle, then what comes up is a guidance really for your life, right? Is that
that's basically it.
Explain a little bit to...
And I mean, the cards, they just look like, some people just use regular playing cards, the same you would use for whatever, 21 or whatever.
It's just to give a meaning to each card based on a book usually that comes with the thing, and you can read from that.
Yeah.
So cool. And then I'm really excited to chat to you about Oracle. Actually, let's go there now. What's the difference between an oracle card and a tarot card?
So an oracle card, it's similar in the sense that it's got a message for you. It's a system, but it's a system that's distinct in every deck. So tarot is this is what it is. Every tarot deck has the same. There might be slight variations in art. Oracle decks are random. They're wild cards. They could be anything. I've written more than 20 of them, and every single one of them is completely different. And then it's really up to the author as to how they want to craft it. Sometimes there's a theme with it that's very strong, like I like to write like that. And then it's just, you're drawn to it. You could be drawn to the art. I like to work with really different artists and really different energies, because I think of it like vitamins for the soul. Sometimes we need this kind of thing, sometimes we need something else. And essentially, it's a tool for you to connect with your own intuition, the energy that's around you, the energy of the universe. It's kind of, it works, and I don't exactly know how it works, but I would
love that you say that. That's really
it's bizarre.
I've drawn many oracle cards.
It just
and
works.
It's crazy how many times they're bang on. Crazy is not the right word. It's just mind blowing.
No, I hear that a lot from people, and random things. Like, I wrote one for the goddess Isis, and someone messaged me and just said, "You cured my fear of the dentist." I'm like, I don't know how that has anything to do with ancient Egypt, but I'm so glad it happened for you.
So
like,
good.
So they're pretty open, and then they're a tool, they're a method.
Amazing. It's so beautiful. And we are going to do some card readings later in this episode, but I want to move through your journey a little bit more into, I guess, this author-artist space, because you're doing your one-on-ones, you're doing tarot readings, you start talking at the university about spirituality. How was that taken? Because obviously spirituality is something that's... Science is probably a terrible word to try and say it's not a science, but in so many ways it is. Yeah, through a university system or a college, wherever you were teaching it, how was it taken? And obviously you said it was a sold out class, so people wanted it and were open to it.
There's a hunger for it. The world's really changed. The last 10 years, the industry that I'm in has become so much more open to mainstream, where they used to be quite separate. It's quite astonishing.
Yeah.
So there's
Why do you think that is?
It's need. I think it's need. And also, the world's becoming more secularized. There isn't so much... Religion's still powerful, but there are people that are looking for something, sometimes even religious people, for something that feels like it takes them beyond the doctrine. So I think there's a need for it.
Spirituality is almost a combination of all religions. It's like they all build off spirituality, and you're
It's supposed to be, I think. Yeah,
that's how I feel. You might have something to do with Hinduism, something to do with Buddhism, something to do with, every different culture.
Yeah.
And you look at different ancient artifacts, and it's like they're all pulling from the same source as well.
I believe so. I mean, I've written from, many different traditions, and am passionate and even practice daily different traditions. And I just think of it as different lamps and one light. That's how I think of it.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. let's talk about now this chapter of becoming an author and a published author. What was your first thing that you kind of squirmed before when you said, oh, it's a whole nother story?
Oh, the story.
And I just submitted a 60,000 word manuscript, and I probably I might have even got an email while I was sitting here, but in the next couple of days, I'm going to get my typeset. So I'm going to get, you'd probably know what that is, a PDF version of how it's going to look in the book. Like
I love
the content.
that face.
I haven't actually seen it yet. So I'm like, I've gone from a word. So I'm, out of anyone, will have a bit better understanding of the process of publishing than most people. And there's so many different ways to do it. Whether you write a book, pitch it, somebody comes to you. What was your first part when it came to publishing? And listening to your other podcasts, I know writing was something that you're always fond of through high school.
Yes.
Talk me through getting published for the first time.
Look, it was random. I tried to do it the proper way. You know, I read all the things and I went to all the workshops that said you write this amazing letter and you don't get stuck in the slush pile because you're so brilliant and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I did all the things that you're supposed to do. And I wrote my first manuscript and I sent it off to a bunch of publishers.
What was it about?
It was about how to live from the heart and soul, what
Beautiful.
that looked like, and psychic development. There's a whole bunch of things in there.
Cool.
And what happened was I got a huge number of rejection letters, and then I started to think about, was it Stephen King who used to paste all the rejection letters on his wall? I can't remember who it was.
Someone.
Super dark. Yeah. But I got these letters, and then there was one publishing house that I absolutely was desperate to publish me. I just thought they'd be amazing. So I poured my heart and soul into this, and I got a rejection letter back with the wrong date. They changed my sex. They called me Alan instead of Alana. I was so heartbroken, and I just thought, oh my God. Anyway, I'm so dramatic. So I was just heartbroken. And I thought, what am I going to do? And then I had this guidance that said, go for a walk. And I was like, well, how's that going to help? But I went for a walk, and this was when I was living in the inner city in Marrickville. And as I was walking down the street, there was this little shiny silver thing gleaming on the footpath in front of me. And I thought, it's probably a bottle top because there's like pubs everywhere. It's probably a, cap off a beer thing. But my heart leapt and I thought, no, it's not that. And I walked up to it and I leaned down to pick it up, and it was a tiny miraculous medal of Mother Mary, and it had a little scroll attached to it. And I opened it up, and the first thing I saw was, fear not, child, God has a plan for you. And I just thought, what the actual... Can I swear on this?
Yeah, you can.
I should check this. I was like, what the actual fuck? So I kind of looked around, and everyone was just doing their normal thing, and I still have it. It was such a long time ago, but I kept it because it's so precious to me. So I didn't give up. I thought, okay. And then I had these CDs that I'd self-published.
How old are you? About 30?
Yeah.
Cool.
Gosh, your intuition's good. Yeah. So...
Nice. Following
the thread. I don't even follow the threads of my own life. I'm very impressed with you. I went to a bookstore in Glebe, and I took these CDs, and I said to the lady who ran it, I've self-published these meditation CDs, would you stock them? And she said no. And I went home, and I didn't know, unbeknownst to me, a friend of mine who loved, she was a client really and a friend, but she loved my work, and she took the same CDs into the shop and said, this woman's amazing, you have to stock these. And she said, okay. So
somebody else
Cooper, I don't understand. This is my life. Yeah. So that she stocked them, and then somehow Tony from Blue Angel got a hold of them, and he contacted me out of the blue and just said, I've heard these CDs. I'd like to re-record them and release them under my label. Are you happy to do that? And I said yes, and that started our relationship. And then...
How many meditations were there? And it was just a CD
with 3 albums with 3 on each.
How long were the meditations?
About 20, 30 minutes each.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you just, self-recorded some meditations.
Self-recorded, yeah.
Were they, what sort of meditations were they?
They were working with these enlightened guides called the Ascended Masters, who I loved and still do. So they were pretty out there.
Yeah, were they guided meditations? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, to music, yeah.
Yeah, wow. So then a recording label picked them up and went, this is great.
Yeah.
We want to do that, because I'm looking at this deck and it says Blue Angel as well. So they're not just a music publishing company.
Music, decks, books.
How did life change once you talk me through that? What recording meditations was your first thing? I wouldn't know that because now you're, very well acclaimed musician, not just meditations, and obviously author for many different things. So how'd the transition and what was that next chapter like?
Well, then they started to go into stores, and there was a bookshop that I loved in Sydney called Adyar Bookshop. They closed down some years back, which is devastating, but probably better for my bank balance because I spent way too much in there. But loved that store, and they stocked them. And I went in once to bring in extra stock, and someone, I remember it was right at the beginning, someone ran up to me from the store and said, "Oh, I love your meditations," whatever. And I was so embarrassed and freaked out that I just smiled and ran out of the store like a complete freak. But it took me a while. I'm a very shy person. It took me a while to really kind of adapt to that idea of being publicly known. No. It happens slowly and is still happening slowly. But
it happens slowly, then it happens fast.
God, yes.
It happens slowly, and then you're in an environment where your people are, and it's just like, poof.
Yeah.
And I mean, with the amount of decks you sold and stuff, I'm sure you get stopped all the time. It's like
I do,
it's a wild world. So you're making the meditation, someone stops you, it's going good.
Yeah.
What are you still working here as a psychic and doing? Still
working as a psychic, doing readings. That was
making your meditations.
Making my meditations, and then I had this deep kind of dream, this desire to write an oracle deck. I really wanted to, but I didn't know how to on my own. It was a whole thing, getting artist licenses and publishing.
Yeah, so there's a lot of art to go with them.
It's a huge process, but that's what I wanted to do, and it took a while. It was a few years, I think, from memory. And then I had been teaching in Holland. I'd been teaching workshops over there, and I remember I was wrecked. I'd done 3 months or something of hardcore, like every week doing something, and I was just like, I need a gift. I need some spiritual gift for this because I'm tapped out. And then I got an email from my publisher. It was like the same day.
From the meditation publisher?
Yeah, from Tony at Blue Angel. And he just said, I have this artwork, which I really love, and I was going to ask a more established writer to do this, but I noticed some writing on your website. You seem to like to write. Would you like to write an oracle deck? And then he showed me the art.
He literally asked you to write an oracle deck. That's a rare thing for someone to ask you to do.
This happens to me all the time now. I have another story I'll tell you. But he gave me the file with all the artwork, and I opened it, and it was for the Kuan Yin oracle. And I had all of that artwork at home. I didn't even know who the artist was. So I can't explain it, but it felt like this deep synchronicity. And that was the beginning. And then from there...
What year was this? If you don't mind me asking.
I think it was like around maybe 2011 or somewhere like that. And then from then I've been writing pretty much at least one a year, and they just keep flowing, and I get more adventurous with how I want to work with them. But I remember when I wrote that, I thought, I don't know if anyone's going to read this, but I'm just going to write what I hear and what spirit my guides say to me on a daily basis.
Well, that was going to be one of my big questions, and that's what I asked my partner. What should I ask Alana? She's like, ask her the process of writing an oracle deck. Is it you come up with the words that go with the images? Is it you see the images then go to the words? I kind of know the answer to this because I listened to your podcast this morning. But yeah, I'd love to hear your process, especially with that first one. So you get this art, and you're like, oh, I've seen that before. I've got that at home already.
Yeah.
So what's your process of writing a card? How many cards go in an oracle deck? Is there a set number, or is it kind of whatever you want?
It's a little bit what you want. It's typically around 40 or 44.
Yeah.
The process for me is always very different. Kuan Yin, I had the art first. With other decks, like the second one I wrote was the Isis Oracle, and that I came up with a list of images and basically gave a brief to the artist and said, can you create these? Which is also the process we use for the Kali Oracle. And actually with the Kali Oracle, we asked this artist once and he said no. And I just didn't stop asking. And then eventually, after a few years, we thought, he might be more in the mood now. And we asked again and he said yes. So I think timing matters for what oracle comes through and when.
Yeah.
I really feel like there's an intelligence there that kind of almost doses it out to people based on what's needed.
Let's talk about just sort of what's on the page. Not the drawings. The drawings are obviously all beautiful, but the message that comes through for each one. Like, how do you come up with that? Is that like a drawing on your experience with also the, intelligence that comes to you through, your practice of becoming, attuned to that stuff?
Yes, it's an inspiration. It's hard to explain, but it's like, say you had a really good friend and you had like hand signals or something that you could do to each other, and only you would understand it, and everyone else might see it and they don't really know it, but you've got that vibe with each other. So you could be at a party, they just look at each other like, we're out of here. Yeah, you just know. So it's like that. It's like I get a feeling or a sense, or sometimes an image, and there's a whole world of words that opens up from that one image or sense, and that's what goes on the page. I often feel like it already exists, and I'm trying to pull it through and give it shape. Yeah.
That's so cool. I just find it so fascinating. Yeah, all the world of Oracle, and I can't wait. And it's coming soon, everyone listening. We're going to do some card readings very shortly. But let's talk about the Earth Warrior cards, because that's what we're going to do later today. Tell me the story, how they came about.
So,
and how far into your journey of making oracles were Earth Warrior? Are they your biggest sellers? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what's your biggest seller, but what's your most popular deck?
They sell very well, those cards. And they reach, a lot of men like those cards. They reach a diverse group. Probably one of the greatest sellers is the White Light Oracle. That just went
gangbusters.
Yeah, and continues to. I just kind of look at it and think, how is this even happening? But I love Andrew, and the artist Andrew Gonzalez is such a beautiful human. And he said actually he painted those paintings based on dreams. It's like dreams of a spirit world. I think that's part of...
When did you write the White Light ones?
That was maybe around 2019.
Okay, so that was...
Earth Warriors was a couple of years earlier, about 2017-ish.
Yeah, wow.
But I wrote that deck because of a drumming group in Sydney that I'd been singing at, and I just loved them, and they were free spirits, and they were so... on the beaches, actually. And they were so connected to saving the planet, and there was something about them and their energy, and I thought, I can connect with these, like their little pods, these groups. When I travelled in America for work, there would be groups like that, and I thought, there's something here, you know, this intelligence about these people. And I was explaining it to my publisher, and I said, I want to write a deck that connects with these people, and I said, I want to call it Earth Warriors, like that's what they feel like to me. And then I found Isabel Briner's art I think it was on Etsy or somewhere online, and I just stalked her and said, please.
That's unbelievable, the art in this book.
Yeah, she's so talented. And I just said, would you be open to that? And she said, yeah, I'd love to. And so that was born. When it's meant to happen, it happens very easily. Yeah.
It's so cool. I want to talk to you just quickly about the crossover between mental health and spirituality, where you as somebody who is a spiritual healer could see the world, could use spirituality to help with mental health, in sort of bridging the challenges that a lot of people have with mental health. As someone, what's your dream if it was like, hey, I wish people were a bit more open-minded to this, or how do you see spirituality could be used to help people with their mental health?
That's such a great question. I would say one of the gifts that spirituality brings to mental health is the gift of perspective and context. Sometimes I describe our spiritual connection as being like the single drop becoming more connected with the whole ocean, or a puddle with the ocean. So you think about, if you have a puddle and that's us as individuals, you get a rock thrown in it, it makes a mess, right? It might even dry out that puddle completely. But you throw that same rock in the ocean, nothing. It just absorbs it. So there's something about increasing resilience, giving us a sense that we're not so alone, giving us a feeling of meaning and something to lean into. Because I don't think seeking sanctuary and protection in a world that's constantly changing really works so well. We need something internal, something that's vaster, that we feel is going to be bigger than our fears and bigger than our doubts and bigger than the craziness and the oppression and the violence and all of the stuff that we see happening in the world. I feel there has to be something vaster than that and more powerful, that's connected with love and has this generosity. And for me, that's the spiritual path just leads you there, regardless of what words you give it. That's kind of the least important thing. We make it the most important thing, and it's the least important thing in my view.
Yeah, I just feel like the most important thing is just to be open-minded, not to dismiss something just because you don't understand it, or because somebody else, that you don't agree with likes it. It's like, no, I don't know. I'm just like, it opens up such a world of possibility when you go, I mean, that's literally what open-mindedness is. Like, it can just create a whole new world to, expand into, rather than just be so fixed on what is. It's like,
I agree. And I think sometimes it's control and fear of not having control that drives that. And I think if you have a sense that what you're kind of learning to surrender into is trustworthy and has your back, it's a little bit easier to begin to soften some of that control and just treat it like an experiment. What would happen if I didn't freak out about this and I asked the universe for help?
Yeah.
What would happen? Just experiment, see how it goes.
And I think calling it like the universe is such a good way. I think that's like helped me a lot with my connotation of spirituality. I just use the universe. It's like, no, it's just a greater good that is this existence. Like if you Yeah, like add up all the trillions of things that had to go right for you to be existing right now. Like
For
it is
sure.
magic. Like
Yeah.
I always say this because I deliver workshops, and one of my things I talk about is connecting to your senses. Like connect to your sight, look around, and then realize that these little balls in our face connect with millions of connections to our brain, process the information in real time, and allow you to see. Like it's mad. It literally is magic in the context
I
of
love
like
that.
what life is like, and the fact that like you're sitting here and a thought just comes from nowhere. Like where do they come from? Like
That's
yeah.
fabulous. I call it the crop circle phenomenon. It's like these amazing, bizarre things happening in a field in the UK, and the farmers just get up and do the thing around it. Like it's just this extraordinary thing happening, but you just, you know, doing whether the harvest, don't even
Yeah.
really notice it. It's like how many miracles are happening around us all the time, and we don't even see
How
it.
many miracles are happening inside of us?
Right.
Like billions of chemical reactions perfectly happening for us to survive.
It's kind of incredible.
It's incredible, all of it. Lastly, before we do some oracle cards, tell me about your music. You've got
Yeah.
a new album out
Yes.
recently,
Yeah.
Rumi. Do you want to explain who Rumi is
Yeah.
and what the inspiration behind that album? And yeah, I'll leave in the show notes for people to have a listen to that as well as all of your other incredible work. But yeah, just a chance to share a bit more about what you're up to right
Yeah.
now with the music.
Well, Rumi was a Sufi mystic who lived about 800 years ago. And at his funeral, there were mourners who were Christian and Jewish as well as Muslim. So he had this kind of universal vibe. And even today in America, he's like cited as the most read poet. Beyonce named her youngest daughter after him. So he's got this kind of reach. But he writes about how to move through the difficulties in life, especially grief, and not get lost in it, but not turn away from it, but actually move through it and be kind of almost like cracked open, having our hearts broken to make them stronger and more open. That's what he writes about. So he's very loved, and I've been obsessed with him. That's the other oracle story I had for you. I went to Istanbul, to Turkey, which is where he spent the last 50 years of his life, and I had an experience with him there where I was meditating, and I felt him enter the room. It was literally like a person had walked in the room, and I could sense his energy, and I just knew it was him. And I could feel my energy, and we were separate, but at the same time, I couldn't feel the difference between where he started and stopped and I started and stopped. We were entirely one, and it was blissful. And I thought, God, how often does this happen? I better ask him something, right? So I said, can I write an oracle deck in your name? Would you be all right with that? And then the experience faded, and then the next day I got an email from this artist saying, I've got all this artwork and translations of Rumi's poetry, and I want to do a Rumi oracle, and I love the way you write. Would you be the author? And I was like, I think that's a yes. Yeah. So I feel a connection with him. And then because he founded the Whirling Dervish Order, have you seen this, like the spinning dancers? They wear the white outfits in Turkey, and it's very beautiful. It's like a prayer through dance. Mm-hmm. So he's connected to music. And his poetry is beautiful. And I thought, I want to put Rumi poetry to music and make it almost like a really digestible way for people to receive. Because music's something that so many people can just connect with. It cuts through our mental chatter and just brings us into our bodies where all the magic kind of resides.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so beautiful to hear the different stories that you have where things sort of just get brought into your existence, and then hey, here we are.
Do this. It's like a big sign, like a big arrow. Do this next. I was like, okay. Happy to.
Amazing. Well, I could talk to you for hours about your story, and we will have to catch up for another chat one day in the future to learn more about all the amazing stuff that you do. But I'm conscious of your time, and I'm really excited to have a card drawn from the author herself of my Earth Warrior Oracle deck, and I'm going to get you to sign them as well.
Yeah, I'd love to.
After.
Of course.
But so instructions, what are we going to do here? So for anyone just listening, which is probably everyone because I don't do video for the whole episode.
Imagine you have a deck of cards in your hand.
My box of oracles. So in an oracle deck, there's a book that comes with it, a guidebook that has, maybe you can explain the guidebook.
Yeah, it's just got an explanation of what the card means, and I almost always write a little healing process so you can follow some steps to kind of work with the energy of what you've received.
And do you want to just, for a quick explainer for someone who's like, what's an oracle? Like,
yeah.
Why am I drawing an oracle right now? What's it going to do for me? How's it, how does it work?
So you might have a question, something specific that you want to get clarity on. There was a card that fell out, and you should always keep the card that falls out. I saw that.
Well, the card that fell out is number 10, which is my birthday. And it's like, I was like, I laughed at that for a second. Should I use that as one of mine?
One of yours. We'll do another one.
It was
as well.
just stuck at the bottom of the box and I had to get it out. Yeah,
There's no mistakes.
Okay.
So you asked because you have a question, and sometimes I think I just want to feel more connected to myself and my truth. Maybe I've been out in the world a lot and felt a bit like I've got 9 million opinions from 9 million people, and it's all good, but I just want to know, I want to come back to myself. And so sometimes I just ask, what do I most need to know right now? And then I shuffle, and I'm a fan of when a card flies or falls out of the deck. That's just my weird little thing. But sometimes people will just fan it on the table as if you're like a dealer in a casino. Yeah. And just pick one that you feel drawn to and don't overthink it. I used to joke with my students. They put it out and they'd pick one and I go, don't do that one. And then it freaked them out. But like there was it's a bit twisted. Yeah, but it's just to say it's fine. Like you're not going to pick the wrong card.
Yeah. So we're going to use this one or
and one more
as well, and one more. Okay. The way that we normally do it on like a full moon and sort of like give us guidance for this next chapter is almost the way that we look at it, like a bit of, but yeah. All right, so I'm going to shuffle up these cards.
Oh my God, you're doing it like a dealer in a casino. That's very impressive. Do you have a question or is it just whatever you...
Well, I was just kind of thinking a bit of guidance on this next chapter. I've got a pretty big next 6 months coming up. I've got, my book coming out. I've got a pretty exciting and big next 6 months. Just maybe a bit of guidance, like I'm on the right path. Should I slow down? Should I pivot? Not any of those questions, just a bit of guidance towards that.
I do get guidance for you. I'll look at the cards as well, but do you want just the guidance that comes?
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I'm going to pick a card. Do you want to lie them out or do I do it? Or
no, you can pick one. Yeah.
I might do the lie out. I'm not very good at it though. It's really hard to...
They're quite big cards.
Let's just pick one. I'm just going to pick one. What am I drawn to here? Which one's going to stop? This one.
Nice.
Oh, so I've picked card number 44, the White Buffalo Woman. Hopeful heart, see her signs.
That's my favourite card from the whole deck, that one.
Is it really?
Yeah, I love that card.
There you go. So, do you need the book? Or
No, I'm good.
Okay, so I've just drawn the card 44. I've got also the card number 10, Kaitaiki, Guardian of Papatuanuka.
That's Maori, the divine being.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So, White Buffalo Woman, what does this mean for me?
All right, first of all, I want to say that when you talked about your new chapter, I just had the feeling of this, like a surge of energy, but it wasn't disruptive. It was actually smooth, and it felt like you could lean into it and actually let it guide you, and you didn't even have to necessarily decide for yourself if you're going to speed up or slow down, but actually just lean into it a little bit. I've never surfed, so I don't know, but is there a feeling when you surf if you're in like a...
barrel?
Yeah. Do you lean into it and does it move you? How does that work?
In a barrel is really interesting. It's like time stands still because like the sound just goes...
That's
like you're
so
in a tunnel
cool.
almost, and then it becomes so like small in the barrel and you're like trying to just get through that one little hole coming out of it. So it's very like... the best way to describe it? It's very alone, like you're inside nature, like it's like you're in a little cave by yourself.
That's amazing.
It's a weird way to describe it, but yeah.
And does it move you? Do you?
Yeah, well, you're moving through the wave, going with it.
It's that same feeling. Yeah. But there's a smoothness and an ease with it, which you may not be expecting. So even the more you lean into that, the more, even as things get busier and there may be elements that feel chaotic moving forwards, but you'll feel like it's graceful. So let all that happen and you stay in your barrel zone. Yeah, that's what I was feeling for you when you spoke. Now let me have a look at these cards.
Okay. Yeah,
all right.
Oh, so that was just when I spoke. So that wasn't it. Okay.
No, that was just from what you were saying. So the reason I love White Buffalo Woman is that she's about hope and the sign of something new and promising being born. And I feel this is not only for you, but this is also what you're bringing through for people and what you'll be doing in the new chapter. And it's very much about peace and these ways of letting go of the mechanisms or the habits or the methods we have that are a little bit self-sabotaging, and it just may be because we don't know another way, but she comes as this kind of divine sign. So I would say to you two things: trusting in the value of the work that you're doing, which I know you do, and this sense of peace that you're bringing to people, and also looking for the signs that will come through you. I feel for you, that there's like a really strong intuition and an opening that's happening and will continue to happen. Maybe your partner's part of that because she's so into this world, but it's almost trusting the random things that come to you. It feels like it's getting stronger, and I feel like that's part of this because I'm really drawn to this part of the top of the image, the crown of the head.
I love it. I literally was in room 44 like a week
Were
ago at a
you?
hotel room. Yeah,
That's
and it's
so
card
cool.
number 44. It's
That's very cool.
no,
And this other one, this is guardianship. So this is from the Maori tradition, but it's about the people that protect like what has value. Papatuanuku is like the Earth Mother, like it's just it's divine energy. But yeah, this is about protecting what you value, helping people to protect what they value too. I think that's very underestimated in society. We don't really get asked what is it that you value. We get told what it is we're supposed to aspire to by, maybe advertising companies or people that don't necessarily have any interest in what actually matters to someone. So, yeah.
That's crazy. I literally, in my workshop, delivered one today, one yesterday, say to people, we get sold thousands of times a day now, you need this to be happy, buy this to be happy. And
Yes.
I talk about, no, you need your values to be happy.
So this
Kindness,
is
gratitude, mindfulness, these are the values that you need to trust, and that's what I teach. So.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Looks good. Future looks good.
Future looks good. All things good. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. Now, shall we draw one for the audience?
Absolutely.
Maybe we should do two, and that way, right now, what we'll say to the audience, choose either the number 1 or 2, whatever feels right to you. That way, there's kind of...
I love it.
If one card doesn't feel right,
it's
I
love
like,
it.
okay, maybe the other card. So if they both... It's not just one, and if they both feel right, great, they're both for you. But if... Just that way, you get a bit of choice right now listening.
Yeah.
You can either choose, all right, 1 is my card today, or 2, I'm going to give him a bit of a shuffle. I'm going to draw one, Alana's going to draw one. I'm going to draw the first one. So, what's going to draw me? If you're number 1, your card is this one. Number 1's card is Dadiri, Hearing Truth, 21.
Beautiful.
Beautiful card. I'm going to give you the deck. You can have a shuffle and choose number 2 for whoever's listening, and chose number 2 right now. So Alana's having a bit of a shuffle. One's 2 have dropped out for you.
All right, let's have a look and see.
Okay, so number 2 is going to actually have 2 cards.
Amaru and Aditi of Hathor.
So number 26, Amaru, and number 7, Aditi of Hathor. So let's start with number 1, the card that I drew. What's coming through for you for the people who chose card 1?
Let's have a look at this. So Dadiri has to do, it's an Australian Indigenous teaching on deep listening. What am I feeling here? There's a recurring theme. I'm very drawn to this white dove-like creature in this image, and this idea of, actually there's 2 things. It's the idea of peace, and it's the idea of what it is that we let go and the power that we have to let go of it, that it gives us the capacity to generate more of that peace. And listening beneath the noise. There's a lot of noise in the world right now. There's a lot of noise in our own minds, and I think anxiety, and a lot of people that are struggling, everything from suicidal ideation to just regular, high functioning or not anxiety. And there's something in this about an encouragement to trust in your capacity to just gently lay things to rest, that you get to choose to do that, to get closure, to shut a door on something if you want to, and move forwards with dignity in your path. And to keep listening to that voice within that reassures you that there is a way through, even if you can't see it yet. The poet Rumi that we talked about earlier, he says, love always finds a way.
Beautiful. Well, that was card 1.
That was card 1.
Whoever chose 1, and for
card
whoever
2.
chose number 2, you've got 2 cards, because when Alana was shuffling, 2 jumped out of the deck. So the first one you drew was number 26?
Yes, it is. So Amaru, so this is about finding sacred spaces and places. So just giving yourself permission to take a sanctuary. Sometimes it's not a physical place. Sometimes it's somewhere in your own mind or your own heart. It's you might use a visualization for it. It might just be a place in your garden, or it could be just a place in your own mind that you go to in the shower because there's nowhere else in your house where it's calm. It's like your safe space. But giving yourself permission to cross the threshold away from your own worries. If there's something that's been really plaguing you, giving yourself permission to just say, I'm just going to leave that on the side and just step into this sanctuary for a moment. And then in that sanctuary, we connect with the goddess Hathor. So it's the cow skull, which is from Indigenous American tradition. And Hathor is Egyptian, but she's associated with the cow. So that's the connection there. And she is pleasure, love, beauty, play. I guess you'd say it's taking time to play even amongst the chaos, to replenish your spirit and give yourself a sense of sacredness, and knowing that through that, sometimes it's the way that we attract the guidance that we need. You know, like you stop thinking about a problem to get the answer to it sometimes. It's kind of that vibe. Yeah.
Let go a little and then the answer shows itself.
Yeah, and also like listen to some good music, or like dance around your lounge room. Like just let it,
I'll put in the show notes some good music from Alana Fairchild to check out.
I got some music. Here's some I prepared earlier for you, just for you. Yeah.
No, that's thank you so much. I've been for months. Waiting to not use these cards. I've used these cards before, but once I knew that we're going to do this podcast, because it's been about 5 weeks in the making, I was like, I'm so excited to hopefully do this. So thank you so much for doing a reading for me and for the community. I'm sure everyone listening will feel, your words and the message that you had through the cards, or that the cards had for them. A lot, which, I'm so grateful for. I do finish Good Humans podcast with the same question for everyone. So what does being a good human mean to Alana Fairchild?
Trusting that you were divinely designed and are more than enough just as you are.
Wow. That is so well put. I just want to put a bow on it and end the episode. I just want to keep talking to you. But I will leave in the show notes everything to your music. As I said, very, very highly sought after musician on Spotify, 30,000 downloads. Listeners a month, which is huge. I understand the analytics a little bit with having a back-end podcast, a musician brother-in-law, and a lot of musician friends. Like, it's a real deal. You're doing some amazing stuff. Your oracles in your books, over 1.2 million copies sold. Like, you must be so proud, just because I'm sure you've had hundreds of thousands, probably thousands and thousands of stories of the impact your work's had, but there's probably hundreds of thousands of more that you'll never even hear. So from me to you, thank you so much for the impact you've had on my life, just from the few times I've been connected with your work. But I know there's so many other people who would be deeply affected by it. I will ask you one more question. Is there anything I didn't ask you, and with your wisdom that you have, or is anything channeling to you right now that you feel I should have asked you, or that the audience needs to hear from your mind and your world?
I love that. I think if there was one word that I keep coming back to on my spiritual path, and that I tell people a lot, it's trust. Trust yourself, trust your path, trust the universe.
Beautifully put. Well, thank you so much for jumping on Good Humans podcast.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.